The moment I saw her standing beneath the bright afternoon lights of our old high school gym, I forgot how to breathe. 15 years had passed since I had last seen Maribel Hayes, yet I recognized her instantly. She looked older, quieter, and heartbreakingly tired, dressed in a simple lavender dress with a small black ribbon pinned near her shoulder. But it wasn't Maribel who shattered my heart. It was the little girl standing beside her. She looked up at me with innocent eyes, held my gaze for several seconds, and then said the words that made the entire room disappear. "Mommy said you'd come. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the possibility that some people are meant to find their way back to each other, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to Whispered Hearts." Sometimes life closes a door for years, only to open it again when our hearts are finally ready. My name is Everett Hale, and before that afternoon, I believed I had made peace with my past. The 15-year reunion of Millbrook High was supposed to be nothing more than an awkward afternoon of old photographs, polite smiles, and memories that had lost their sharp edges. I arrived just after lunch, when sunlight streamed through the gymnasium windows and made the polished wooden floor glow. Old classmates stood beneath balloons and reunion banners, laughing about school dances, teachers, football games, and the foolish dreams we had carried when we were young. I smiled when people recognized me, but inside, I was searching for only one person. Maribel. She had been my closest friend in high school. We had shared everything: secrets, dreams, bad grades, summer walks, and the belief that somehow life would always leave room for us. We had never officially called ourselves a couple, but everyone knew there was something between us. Then, during our final year, my father died unexpectedly, leaving behind debts that threatened to destroy our family business. I left town without saying goodbye properly. I told myself I was protecting Maribel from my problems, but the truth was simpler and uglier. I was scared. I believed love was something people could afford only after their lives were stable, and mine was falling apart. When I returned years later, Maribel was gone. I heard that she had moved away, married someone named Adrian Mercer, and built a life of her own. I never contacted her. Pride became silence, and silence became years. Eventually, I convinced myself that whatever we had once shared was nothing more than a beautiful memory. Then she walked into that reunion. Maribel was holding the hand of a little girl with golden brown hair. The child wore a white cardigan over a floral dress and carried a small pink purse. Maribel looked around the room nervously, as if she were searching for someone she wasn't sure would appear. When her eyes finally met mine, she stopped. For several seconds, neither of us moved. There were so many things I wanted to ask. Why had she come? Why now? What had happened to Adrian? Why had she never contacted me? But before I could say anything, the little girl stepped forward. She looked at me with complete trust, as though she had known me long before that day. "Mommy said you'd come." My heart dropped. I looked at Maribel. Tears had already gathered in her eyes. She reached for her daughter's hand, but the little girl held on to mine instead. Her name was Juniper. And her father had died 6 months earlier. Maribel explained everything slowly as we sat beneath the windows where sunlight spilled across the floor. Adrian had been a good man. He had loved Juniper deeply and had supported Maribel through years of struggles. His death had left a silence in their home that no one knew how to fill. But there was something Adrian had discovered shortly before he died. He had found an old box of Maribel's belongings from high school. Inside was a photograph of the two of us and a letter I had written before leaving town. Maribel had never opened it because she had been afraid of what it might say. Adrian had read it only because Maribel had asked him to help sort through the box. The letter had never accused her of anything. It simply said that I had loved her, that I had been afraid, and that I hoped one day she would forgive me for disappearing. Adrian had apparently told Maribel something she never expected to hear. He told her that if life ever gave her the chance to find me again, she should take it. Not because I owed her anything, but because unfinished chapters had a way of haunting people. Then he had left her one final request. He wanted Juniper to know the man her mother had once loved. I didn't know how to respond. I had spent years believing I had been forgotten. Instead, I discovered that somewhere inside Maribel's heart, I had remained a quiet unfinished sentence. But reunion was not simple. Maribel wasn't looking for romance. She was a grieving widow raising a little girl alone, struggling with bills, school expenses, and the emotional weight of becoming both parents to Juniper. She had come to the reunion because she needed closure, not rescue. So I made a decision. I would not try to become the hero of her story. I would simply be there. I helped Juniper with her science project. I attended her school recital. I repaired the broken porch railing at Maribel's house when she couldn't afford a contractor. I listened when she talked about Adrian without jealousy or resentment. And slowly, Juniper began to trust me. One afternoon, months after the reunion, we sat together in the backyard beneath a warm summer sun. Juniper was drawing pictures with colored pencils while Maribel watched from the porch. Juniper suddenly held up a drawing. It showed 3 people standing beneath a giant yellow sun. She had drawn herself in the middle, Maribel on one side, and me on the other. Above us she had written, in uneven letters, "My people." Maribel covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. I realized then that love did not always return in the form we expected. Sometimes it returned quietly. Sometimes it arrived carrying grief, responsibility, and a child's hand. Sometimes it wasn't about replacing the person who had been lost. It was about helping the people left behind discover that life could still contain warmth. A year after the reunion, Maribel and I stood in the same old high school gym during another sunny afternoon. Juniper was older, happier, and running between tables with a group of children. There were no balloons this time, no reunion banner, and no painful memories waiting to ambush us. Maribel took my hand. She didn't need to explain anything. We had both learned that the past cannot be rewritten. But the future can still be written differently. And perhaps that was what Adrian had wanted all along. Not for me to replace him. Not for Maribel to forget him. But for the 2 people he loved most to keep living. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes that love can survive loss, and subscribe to Whispered Hearts for more stories about hope, forgiveness, and second chances. And before you leave, please comment, "Some people find their way back," if you believe that the right people can return to our lives at exactly the moment we need them most. Because that afternoon at the reunion, Juniper didn't just say, "Mommy said you'd come." She unknowingly reminded me of something I had forgotten for 15 years. Some goodbyes are not endings. Some are simply pauses. And sometimes, when the heart has finally learned how to forgive itself, life gives us one more chance to come home.